Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. It's February 13th, and today we're going to start growing our sweet potato slips. So let's take a look at it. When it comes to growing sweet potato slips, first you have to have sweet potatoes. Now, these are some. We had half a bushel of sweet potatoes, different varieties. We had some, and plus some extras, but we have two different varieties. One is Stokes Purple, and then the other one is unknown. We've been growing this for years. From it was a organic store-bought sweet potato we picked up in 2016, and we liked it so much we got some extras, and about 4 extras, and we started growing from there. Now, what you got to do first is you have to have good viable ones. Now, some of these, and I'll probably cull some more, because when they start drying up on the end, that's not a good sign. Now, this does have looks like a few good ones coming out, but I don't know how well this will do. It's not going to be whatever's there. See, this one here is dying where it started to sprout. And this could be a lack of moisture and such, or this fungus. But it does have good viable start there, and some more right here where it's just starting out. But you want to cull those sweet potatoes. Now, you don't want to plant something like this. This is drying out. It's soft. It's not going to grow. I've culled out some of these others and put in here. But a lot of these that's shriveled, bad stuff, you don't want to mess with growing those. Usually, it's best if you have some that's starting to sprout, but it's not necessary. You can grow sweet potatoes from some that aren't sprouting. But like I say, if it is sprouting, that's good. When these are from last year's crop, I do have one sweet potato that I've ordered that they're supposed to be here, and it might be middle of April before they get here. Sometimes that's what it is. Of course, we have a long growing season, so I can just find a place once they get sprouted to grow. Now, a lot of sweet potatoes, and it's different lengths of time that it takes them to grow. Normally, I always say 120 days. Now, there's a lot that can produce like in 90 days or 3 months, but I always figure about 120 days, and I kind of judge that by my plants, how they look, if they're starting to age or something. But we'll go into that later. Main thing we want to talk about now is planting sweet potatoes. Now, if you're growing your own slips, the first thing I'm going to tell you is don't grow your slips in a jar of water. There's a lot of them that tell you that method, but when it comes to transplant time, and usually you can get them to start, but they have more of a shock because they've been taken out of a real moist environment, and then they're put into the ground and into a drier environment, and it kind of shocks them, so it does slow them down a little bit. Now, these here also are sweet potatoes that were grown. These were some that we've saved that we were eating, and some of these, when they start to grow, the flavor isn't quite as good. They get a little more fibrous, such as that. But like some of these sweet potatoes where they're just now sprouting, and they're sprouting on the end like this sweet potato can still be eaten. You can cut this end off and cook it up. As far as, I'm not going to recommend certain varieties, because when it comes to varieties, it's kind of one of those things that depends on what your taste is, and certain ones will taste different. Like the Stokes Purple it's not quite as sweet as this other variety. I like this one because it's a real heavy vine. It's a real sweet potato. The only thing I don't like about it, it doesn't store as long, and so we eat them first, and that's why I'm going to get some Covington this year and add to my sweet potato variety, because Covington's supposed to have a super long shelf life, 6 to 8 months. I've seen them to where they've stayed good for a year. So the variety, that's going to be something specific to you. But what we're going to do, the way we do this is, once we get our seed potatoes sorted out and we got what we want, we take these black produce trays, and I just take 42-gallon heavy duty trash bag and I line it, because there's plenty of holes in the bottom of here. And what I'll do is I pre-moisten my mix real good. I don't want it dripping water out of it, but I want it really moist. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plant these sweet potatoes in it. So we've got our media here now. What I'm using is just some my wood chip compost. I use, if you want to know, I use a 5-gallon bucket of compost, and I put about a half a bucket of perlite in here. I want to be able to make sure it gets a little bit of air, especially if I tend to maybe overwater it sometimes. Now, once it warms up, I'll move these trays outside, but initially I leave them inside. I take and use this so when I water, it's not going to go through, but the perlite's going to help if I overwater, because that water's not going to go anywhere because there's no drain holes in here. And you can do this in a pot. I have earlier videos, and I make one of these every year because I think it's important. There might be changes I make. I might give information about a little different method, but in older methods, I just used a big planting pot, and I would put these in. Sometimes I would just take, when they were really growing good, I would just take these cuttings off, because I had some that really got wild one year, had really long cuttings. So I just buried all of them in there. And it was kind of a mess because they were in a confined area. The roots got all tangled, but not to say you can't untangle it and get them out. It was a good method that worked. Now, whenever I'm planting one that's maybe starting to get green leaves, I like to put them over to the side, because that gives them an opportunity to not get as buried by the soil whenever I cover this up. And now some of these, the tips are turning black because they're not getting enough moisture, maybe other things. I'll still plant these if they've got a lot of new buds coming out, and this is one of those. But what I do is I just start laying these in the bottom of here, right next to each other, just to fit as many of these in here as I can. Like I say, I'll put the ones that have longer shoots, I'll try to put them over by the edge to help them out. But it's not necessary. They will come up. It's just gives them the opportunity to grow up a little bit faster. But it doesn't matter if these sprouts are down or whichever way, they're going to come up. But one thing that's important about this method is, and I just put about 1 inch in the bottom, and I just kind of push these down into that, because we're not worried about a lot of soil below them. We're worried about having them covered in soil above them, because what happens is, once these root out here, they're going to start putting roots all out on the side of here, on the part that's under the soil. So if you don't have much soil, you're not going to get the available roots to come up as you would otherwise. So, but we're just going to continue to keep planting these, and they don't have to be big. And another thing is, you want to start your sweet potatoes early, because to get to transport plant size, I normally start my sweet potatoes whenever I plant my potatoes. That's normally the middle of February, which would be like, actually tomorrow would be Valentine's Day. A lot of people they say that as Valentine's Day, and that's the way they do it. And they do it that way every year. Uh, and the reason for that is sweet potatoes, and this one's nice and green. We want to put this over here to where it can come up. And if this gets broken off, like I say, it's not going to matter. This one should root out fine. They're pretty aggressive as far as putting out the roots. But the reason we plant them this early is because when you're growing uh, sweet potato slips, it takes roughly about 2 months to get these growing, and uh, and we normally, or I normally put these out about the middle of April, and it's going to depend on your growing season. If you're up north and you're wanting to grow sweet potatoes, a lot of times you can't get slips when you need them. They ship out a certain time. Uh, they usually transport good, but they don't come here when you want them. It's like the ones I order. If I'm ordering potatoes, but the potatoes won't get here. It's going to be a couple months late. But being we have a really long growing season where I'm at, I can still take and grow those. And you can see this potato was broke, but it healed over fine. And that's perfect if you take and save a lot of your culls. These are really too small to eat. Uh, I'm sure Gigi, my dog, would love to eat them. She really stays close when we're harvesting sweet potatoes because she likes them and she prefers the orange ones if that matters. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to put all these in here, and I'm just stacking them in here kind of tight. It's They don't have to have a bunch of room. They do just fine when they're in here real tight. And what's going to happen is once we get ready to harvest these, uh, we'll harvest off the ones that we plant, but then we can continue. We can put these back in there, and they'll uh, grow again. As long as there's still energy in that sweet potato root, they're going to grow. And we plan to grow quite a few more sweet potatoes this year, so uh, we want a lot of them in here to grow. Now, I've got a few extras. I'm not going to take just that few and do another uh, tray of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little dirt in here, and then I'm just going to stack these other sweet potatoes on top. And the ones underneath will come around the ones on top. That's not going to be a problem. We're just going to put a little more soil. These won't have as much soil to put as deeper roots, but that'll work out just fine for growing them. Now on my others, and I'm planting quite a few extras this year. I'll maybe put quite a few extras in the garden, but I'm probably going to grow some extra slips and carry them to the farmers market of the purple Stokes. The other one, uh, I'm not so many because it's limited as far as how many I have now. Also, I want to tell you that certain sweet potato varieties uh, grow a whole lot more uh, slips than others. The purple Stokes, and you can see, and we're going to get a good example here on the end. This has so many slips coming out here, but if you look at this and you see these little bumps that's along this side, each one of these, you can think of them as eyes on a potato. They're going to put out a slip. So this thing is going to have a massive amount of slips on it. I could take it takes at least 2 trays of these orange ones to equal the slips. Man, it might equal the slips that one tray of these Soaks Purple will put out. So uh, be aware of that. Of course, if you're new to it, it's not going to hurt to have extras. I'm sure you'll have somebody that wants more if you don't have a place to put them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and fill this up to the top with some more of my mix and make sure, like I say, it's good and moist. And this is good and moist, so I shouldn't have any problem about having to water it. That moisture get in there, and these things are going to just take off. Okay, now I got the level up a little bit higher. Got them covered. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a healthy dose of fertilizer. And this is my normal chicken litter fertilizer. It's 333, so it's not real hot. And then I'm going to take and fill this the rest of the way up. Now, if this is real full to the side, don't worry about it, because what's going to happen is once it sets there a little bit and it gets watered, it's going to drop down. So it's not a problem of having too much compost. I would say don't put it over the side, but do fill it up good. I make sure I get it into the corner and I kind of push it in there. What I want to do is, once I get this all in here, I want to press it down some. Okay. This is looking pretty good. We have our one already up, and got another one sticking up there, but it won't be long. These sweet potatoes will be popping up, but you want to give them time to grow. And normally, 2 months works real good for me. They'll grow a nice long slip, and when we plant these, we bury most of them anyway, even along the stem. That gives them a lot more rooting area. Once they grab a hold, they really do good. But I'm going to go ahead and continue to plant the rest of these. If you don't have any sweet potatoes to grow and you want to do this, get you some organic sweet potatoes from the store. They won't be treated with any chemicals that may deter sprouting, and they'll go ahead and sprout. It might take them just a little bit longer, because these are kind of like chitted or green sprouted potatoes. I mean, they're ready to start growing right now. The others aren't, but don't worry about leaving them out until you start seeing sprouts. Just bury them. That moisture being in the ground is going to get them to start growing. But like I say, you kind of figure on when your last frost date is, and then give it a couple of weeks after that, because you want the temperatures warm up, and you don't want any late frost or freezes, because they will burn these back, and the chances are they're going to be stressed, so they're not going to grow as well. But you can get those from your organic section at the market. Make sure you taste them. I bought some the other day that I was going to make some dog treats out of, and they sit on the counter for so long, my wife decided she'd go ahead and cook them, and they weren't that great a sweet potato. But like I said, this is the method. I hope you found some value in it. I hope this gets you excited. Maybe start your sweet potato slips. We will be doing potatoes this weekend, so we got plenty of help out there to get them in the ground. So if you want to follow up a few days, we'll have that going on in that video taken care of. But if you want to see more content like this, of course, hit that subscribe, uh, hit that bell, select all, and of course, give it a big thumbs up and share this video. Enjoy that gardening experience.